If you've ever tried to learn something new, you probably know how hard it is to find good resources and materials to help you actually learn that thing. Game development's no different. Trying to learn Godot and GDScript and maybe how to make assets and do all this stuff, it can really pull you in a bunch of different directions, and it can be unclear where to start and what to learn. Trying to use Godot's documentation can be a good start, but it can be really overwhelming just diving into something head first with no real direction. That's why in this video, I wanted to break down the first tutorials I used to help me learn Godot and GDScript and get to the point where I was comfortable making a game on my own. The first tutorial I ever watched that really introduced me to Godot and how to use Godot was from Brackeys, and it was called How to Make a Video Game Godot Beginner Tutorial. Now, I can't understate how amazing this tutorial is for beginners. It should probably be the first tutorial everybody watches when they're trying to learn Godot or game development in general. Brackey has a way of just really talking and explaining through how to do things in a way that's engaging. He has great animations that keep you engaged as well as explain the concepts better. Brackey teaches us how to make a platformer game in his tutorial, and it's a really great starting game for this because you can really be creative and kind of dive outside the tutorial and expand on it and try to learn more things with it. And I think that's just, a great way to learn as well, is to take concepts that people give you and try to expand them a little bit. So definitely something I did with this tutorial. He has really great coverage of the basics as well. Brackey literally goes from starting with how to download Godot all the way to how to export the game at the end. So you get everything in the middle. Everything from how to make a player move, how to set up an enemy, level building. Just the amount of information that's given to you in this tutorial is amazing for how short it is for the most part. I mean, it's only an hour long-ish, and you still get like a great amount of knowledge and information from it. He also makes it really easy for you to follow along. So I think that's something that's really important as you do tutorials, is to follow along with them and try to expand on them. Write your own comments in the code so you can come back and reference that code later. I cannot understate how amazing this tutorial is. Brackey does an amazing job, and if you're looking to get into Godot, I don't think there's a better tutorial than this one to teach you the fundamentals to start and just get you into the engine and get you doing things. So highly recommend this tutorial. The second tutorial I watched was from DevWorm, and it was called How to Create an RPG in Godot Step by Step, and it was a playlist. Now the playlist was good as it was easily digestible. You didn't have to, the challenge of trying to take on an hour-long video. The pacing was much slower than Brackey's because DevWorm actually walks you through and writes the lines of code with you and talks about maybe some of the things he's thinking about, and as well troubleshooting things that, they always have little mistakes that you put in there. So troubleshooting them and showing you the thought process behind troubleshooting was really helpful as well. I think just like Brackey's tutorial, it's a great tutorial for learning the basics, as well as having like a satisfying end. Like this game, you make the slime enemy that will chase you when you're in a certain radius and you can attack it. Just the whole combat and the fighting parts of it felt really satisfying to learn, especially as a beginner when you don't know anything. Like having an enemy attack you and you attack an enemy and you can defeat them, like it's really satisfying. Like I loved it. I also like what DevWorm does with making all the resources available on GitHub, so you can download them and you can use exactly what he was using in the video to walk along with it. This is another video that you can really expand on things that he teaches you and try to, do your own thing and write comments in your code to really try to, hone in on the lesson. DevWorm also started to show me kind of what programmers think like, and I feel like there's some things that just clicked in this tutorial with programming in general when making a game that was really helpful. So overall, great tutorial. I definitely recommend this one if you're just trying to get more of a flow, trying to just have another tutorial under your belt. The next tutorial I watched was a really amazing one. It was from GDQuest, and it's called Your First 2D Game from Zero in Godot, Vampire Survivor Style. The way GDQuest talks about making the game, it just, something about it just makes sense. The tutorial is really focused on teaching rather than copying and doing. So GDQuest will walk through some things, and maybe some of the things won't be the best way, and then they will improve on them. And you know, you can see multiple different ways to do something, and it's almost like you're starting from scratch with the hardest way to do something, and you eventually break it down into the best way to do something. And I think that's a great way to learn and teach something, is to see like, what's the hard way I can do this, and then like, what's the real actual way I can do this, so you can better understand what goes into the good way that you should be using every time. This tutorial shows you how to make a survivor style game, which is a really fun and interesting game, as well as simple. You make this little guy who walks around with a gun and he shoots automatically all the slimes that are chasing him. It's a very simple concept, but it's like Brackeys and DevWorms, with simple being able to show you all the amazing things that Godot can do and how to do some of these things. I do appreciate that it was more focused on projectiles, because then I could start to see how to use projectiles later on, which my whole shoot 'em up game is based around projectiles. So it was really nice to kind of see how to implement that early on. By the time I finished this tutorial, I felt extremely comfortable with the other three I've used to actually get into Godot and do things on my own. So this is why I'm recommending these three first, is because after these three, I felt like I could get into Godot and actually try to start doing something. Highly recommend them just because of that. Again, the resources for this tutorial is on GitHub, so you would be able to follow along effectively with them. Overall, I highly recommend GDQuest in general. They have really great content on their channel as well, especially when it comes to just, I would say, higher level thinking when it comes to programming in Godot and GDScript and all that stuff. So highly recommend them. So the next tutorial I'm about to talk about is kind of out of place, and it's in the wrong order, I would say, for how I would recommend other people to do it. But because this was the next one I watched, I'm going to talk about it. It was by Bitlytic, and it was his Godot playlist. And basically there's 4 to 5 videos in there talking about just general concepts on how to make video games better with Godot. The whole playlist is great. It really laid the foundation for how I do my code now and how I think about, you know, structuring it in a way that's reusable and just better overall. Now, this playlist is definitely more of an intermediate level, so you should have more of a basic understanding of Godot and GDScript before you try to tackle it. But the core concept in each video are very, very important, and they're pretty easy to implement once you kind of watch it and go through it. The pacing in these videos, though, I have to warn you, are extremely fast. Bitlytic just kind of copy and paste the code into there, which is fine, I think, because you should be pausing and trying to follow along yourself. But thankfully, Bitlytic also has all the resources on its GitHub page as well, so you can easily take the code, look at it yourself, and try to dissect it that way as well. And finally, the best for last has to be, and I would recommend his entire channel to you if you want to learn GDScript, Godot in general. This is probably would be my go-to YouTuber for this, and that's the Godotneers. Specifically, his learning to program with GDScript part 1 and 2. That should be, you know, watching Brackeys, watching the GDQuest Vampire Survival tutorial, and then watching learning programming with GDScript, because it just goes into depth about each little step and how to use all the different functionality that GDScript has to your advantage. I have not seen somebody like the Godotneers explain in a way that I feel like I'm getting lectured by a professor. The way that they talk about things, they write something and you think it's going to work, and then it doesn't because of something core that you're not seeing that they're trying to convey to you. And then you walk through like, oh, why didn't it work? Oh, it's because of this. Like, that is the way they go about structuring all their videos is similar like that. And it's great. It's really, really made things click for me personally. The reason I'm recommending this tutorial specifically is because it is tailored towards beginners, especially people who haven't touched GDScript or maybe a coding language in general. This video does a great job of really filling in the cracks of all the other tutorials I watched, because it goes into depth about the actual programming language itself. And I seriously can't recommend Godotneers enough. They have so many great videos on UI, data model, save files. Like, the amount of content that they put out and how high quality it is just incredible. And I believe he's actively making plugins for Godot as well that are just extremely helpful that they highlight in their videos. So seriously, if you haven't checked out Godotneers yet, you must check them out if you're trying to learn Godot or GDScript in general. Just incredible tutorials. Now, as we approach the end of this video, I really just want to say that just because I highlighted 4 to 5 tutorials here, this isn't all I've done to research on how to use Godot. There are always opportunities out there to learn something new, and I think if you're not hungry and you're not actively trying to seek out new things to do in Godot or whatever you're trying to do, you're missing out. You gotta want to do something like this and want to seek out more knowledge to be successful at something. I haven't learned something this quickly in a long time, so I think it really shows how much I just enjoy doing this in general and just how much fun it is. So hopefully I'm conveying how much fun it is to all you guys. Like, this is so much fun. I love learning. I think I watch a video about a new concept or new thing I haven't thought about like every day. I've really been enjoying watching, other people's devlogs, even live streams. I enjoy stepping in and just seeing, somebody actively make a game in front of me live. It's just, there's so many avenues. There's so many things that I'm doing to learn and write and research. So this is just a small snippet of what I did in the beginning. But if you want to keep learning and doing things, at a high level, you have to keep learning. And that's just something I want to just say out loud to everybody who's watching. Like, you have to want to keep learning basically forever, or you're going to just stagnate out and you're going to stop doing it. So hopefully my rambling here at the end motivates you to keep learning and keep trying. Please go back, check out all these amazing tutorials that I talked about in this video. If you want to help me out, please like the video, show your interest in it, subscribe if you want to keep learning about this process with me, keep learning in public with me, keep seeing what I do. I really do appreciate all the new subs who are in here, checking out the videos consistently. If you want to check out my project right now, the GitHub is in the description. You can also join my Discord. I post little snippets of what I'm doing in there as well. Also link in the description. And yeah, thank you guys all so much for your amazing support, and we'll see you in the next video. So bye.